Well, just for fun, I decided to take a look at how some AI can help us in doing some of the work we've been performing. Here's a data set we've been working with. I'm actually using the blocks and the vaccination centers. And we're going to do the same task we've been working on with the GUI, with Model Builder, and with Python, but I'm going to ask some questions of ChatGPT. Now I'm being very specific. Here I tell them, or I tell ChatGPT, I have two geodatabases. Here's that TL_2020, which you see here. They're polygons, I tell it, and vaccine centers, which we have here. And those are points. I also have a table called population. You can see population here. Now, the thing that we've been working on through this process is I'm just telling ChatGPT, I need to join the population table, right, with the blocks table on the geographic code identification field. So I specifically tell it I want to use the GeoID 20 field in the block table, and I want to join that with the geographic _code _identifier field in the population table. So I'm being very specific. Yeah, over time, you learn how to talk to ChatGPT. Now, once the fields are joined, I'm going to buffer the vaccine centers by 1 mile. And then I want to intersect that with the now joined block table. So I'll have, again, buffers around the vaccines from 1 mile. I'm going to then intersect it. Now with the resulting intersection layer, and I tell it specifically, let's call it vaccine buffer intersect, I want to summarize the following fields: total population, white alone, black or African American alone. And I want to group those summaries, group those and summarize, how about that? And summarize by the field facility ID, because that's the main ID for the vaccination centers. Then join the summary stats back to the vaccination centers. Again, I don't want it to be a permanent join based on the facility ID. Actually, I'm going to rewrite that. Again, I don't want it to be a permanent join. Perform the join based on the facility ID. And here I just opened up the table, and let's be specific, facility ID, one word. Right? Because one thing you learn about with computers, if you don't tell it the right thing, it'll do exactly what you tell it to do. And then I say, don't worry about removing the joins, I'll do that later. Now, the other thing I've told it is all of my layers and tables are in the project table of contents, right, which you see here. There's no need to reference the original geodatabase because ChatGPT, I've learned over time, will try and do that. And then I also said simply use the actual names of the layers and tables I provide here. And then can you write me an Arcpy script that will run inside the ArcPro console? So let's copy that. And here back in ChatGPT, let me paste this and run. So they're saying certainly, and here's the script that it's going to write for me. Now it's going to take a little bit of time for this script to get written. Actually, I'll wait it out. You can see it's writing everything I've asked it to do. And it's going through a bunch of different steps. Now it says it's done. Let's see how this runs. I'm going to say copy code, come back in here, and then here I'm going to just paste it in the Python script. Oh, we have one thing. And it says arcpy.analysis has no attribute join field. So what I can do here is tell it shouldn't be arcpy_analysis join field. Right? So arcpy.analysis doesn't exist, but arcpy join field does. So let's come back in here to ChatGPT and say arcpy.analysis.join field doesn't exist. Simply use arcpy.join field. And they say, I appreciate the clarification, so it's going to do that. So that's done. let's copy the code again, come into Arcpy, and try it again. Just paste it, and we'll let it run. So I'm going to let it run for a little while. Let's see how far it gets. I'm going to turn the video off and get back when it's completed because it's quite a bit of data. Okay, we're back. That did take a little while, but now I have this summary stats table. Let's open it. And sure enough, for every facility, I now have the sum of the total population, the white population, and the Black or African American population. It should be joined with the vaccination centers. So let's try that. Symbology. And let's use graduated colors. And let's do the sum of the population. And we can turn some of these buffers off. But there's our data joined back in, all using ChatGPT as a solution. Now, let me just show you a little bit of what I did before. And I learned from this. So you could see ChatGPT and I went back and forth for quite some time, just asking the questions. They were trying to be a bit clever with putting in references. So you can see here, it's trying to find the path to the vaccine buffer. I said, I don't want to deal with that. Let's try and just specifically code things. It was trying to get a list of the maps to get names. And I just eventually said, no, just use the names of the maps. So you get down a little, so still using the list maps, And we'll scroll down. Here we go. And that's when I said, there's no list tables. Let's not bother trying to get clever with the variables for the block group or any of that. Just put them in the actual names, and they did. And then we started working out some things. Let's scroll through. So you can see some of the back and forth. So here again is another little problem. I saw the error. We need to replace geographic code identifier with geographic underscore code identifier. It didn't seem to like that. So it's doing that. They were doing some altering of tables as well, which I didn't like. So I asked it to please not do any altering of the layers. And I had to tell it when the join happened, I noticed the total population was now called population underscore total dot population. So when it joined the intersected features. So in order to perform the summary statistics, they needed to do that. So again, as you go through here, you can see, also the summation field, they didn't do as good of a job. They tried to create a field mapping and then use that as a variable. Again, getting clever, and that's certainly good programming, but it was failing. So I said, look, instead of doing the field mapping, can you just explicitly write out the field names and the sum command? And that's what they did here. So they wrote the whole thing out in the command. And then we come down a little further. Here's another script. Got pretty close, but what I realized is I want to join the summary stats back with the vaccination centers. And that's where we came to here. And you could see we had one little hiccup that we had to change, and then that was it. And I didn't have to write a lick of code. ChatGPT did it for me. I did have to do a little debugging along the way, but you can see how easy this is once you start to learn how to talk to ChatGPT and explain things.